One time for the city. Yeah, same aura as before. The smoke got blowing orange laws, meaning you pursue at your own cause.
All right, Knicks Nation, what's good? Welcome back to another game preview. We are previewing Game 3. This time, the New York Knicks are heading down to the ATL. The series it's tied up 1-1 after a catastrophic failure by the New York Knicks in Game 2. So you know they're heading back down to Atlanta to get back on track and take this thing to be 2-1. And who better to join me to preview this game is none other than my guy Bryce. He covers the Atlanta Hawks for Believe in Hawks for the Believe Podcast Network. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button for your boys. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. We about to get back into this, man. The Knicks got to get back on track. We're going to get back on track, so make sure to stay locked in. It's going to be a good one, people. It's going to be a good one. And just so you all know, before we get into this thing, because we got watch parties galore this time, all right? Watch parties galore. Get ready, because look, in New York, man, we're switching it up from slates. We're going over to printers, okay? So that's 215 West 40th, all right? So go over to 215 West 40th off of 8th Avenue. We'll be there for Game 3 and Game 4. Printers Alley, my apologies. Printers Alley, let me get that right. Printers Alley at 215 West 40th Street off of 8th Ave. We'll be there for Game 3 and Game 4. For Game 3 tomorrow, we'll be opening the doors at 5:30, so make sure to get over there as soon as possible so that way you can get your drink on, get geared up, and get ready for watching the Orange and Blue take on the Atlanta Hawks. And then for Game 4, if you're going down to Atlanta, we got a meetup there as well, okay? We'll be at Hudson Grill, located at 120 Marietta Street Northwest in Atlanta, okay? So that's Hudson Grill. We're going to Hudson Grill for Game 4 if you're down in Atlanta, and that's starting around 2:30. 2:30, my apologies. 2:30 it's starting at. All right, so make sure to get there on time as well so that way you can get your drink on and get ready to support the New York Knicks while they're down Atlanta, okay? Want to make those announcements right there so that everyone can get situated, okay? I know you all love the KFTV watch party, so just want to make sure you get situated. Now, with that being said, let's get into this thing. Bryce, how you doing, man? I feel like I know how you're doing, but how are you doing, man? I got to go through the pleasantries first.
Of course, man. I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. Feeling good. Life's good. Right now, we got a competitive series about to talk about, so I'm feeling great, man. How about you? You good?
Doing better today than I was yesterday, man. I was pretty angry yesterday. If you saw me out in the streets, and I live in Beantown, so I have friends who are like, "Oh, you okay, man? You okay?" And it's hilarious because Celtics fans are like, they were all trying to be like, "You okay, man? You tied up in the series? You think you're championship contenders?" And then they get waxed by the Philadelphia 76ers. So you know what the Sixers and the Celtics do doesn't really impact me, but I just get to poke back and be like, "Ha ha, you're in the same position as us." So it makes my day a little bit better. But nevertheless, man, feeling better than I did after a catastrophic failure for the Knicks. Good win for the Hawks. So let's get into this, man. Let's get into it. Let's review Game 2 a little bit. After watching the Hawks take Game 2, what are your thoughts moving forward?
Honestly, we like I said, we have a series. The series has begun. A road team won, and now it's shifting to Atlanta. And I think if you're the Hawks, you feel like we still haven't played our best fully yet. And so, obviously you say, role players play better at home and et cetera, and we're going home, get some home cooking going. So I feel like, if you're the Hawks, you feel like you're in a good place. You're still feeling like, hey, most of these games it's been within a run. You guys made a run in Game 1 to open it up. We made a run in Game 2 to come back. So definitely been a series of runs. And, I think overall the Hawks should be feeling pretty good, man.
Yeah, I expect the Hawks are feeling pretty good. I mean, they probably got a lot of confidence behind them now. You take one on the road at Madison Square Garden. To them, they got the job done. You kind of eliminate home court for New York. Now New York has to do their job and try to get one, if not two games down in Atlanta, and we'll see how that goes. I'm sure you're feeling great. For me, I was aggravated looking at from what the Knicks did or what they lack thereof. Just aggravated, man, just because if you just even pull up the ESPN graphic, right, of like percentage of wins, you see like, oh, it's heavily favored for the Knicks until like the last 3 minutes, and then it just spikes right towards Atlanta. And to me, man, it's not. I didn't need to see that. It was in the Knicks' grasp. Gave me a little bit of vibes of like what the Knicks did to the Celtics, what the Pacers did to the Knicks last year in game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, just like letting go of the rope. And for me, you know, this is a must-win game for the Knicks.
Mm.
I'm sure like you could argue that for the Hawks, but for the Knicks, where you have home court advantage, all the all the not momentum, but what is it? All the hype, all the
Mm.
expectations, the grand expectations for this team. Um,
So y'all feeling
you
the
go,
pressure?
there's definitely pressure. I mean, this team was feeling pressure prior to this one,
Yeah.
man. They were feeling pressure. I mean, look, when you have your owner go out on WFAN, local sports radio, and say, "Hey, the expectations to get to the NBA Finals. When you fire your head coach of last year, took you to the ECF, you're expecting to either get back to at least the same place, bare minimum, or going even further because you believe that bringing a new head coach, adding depth, will change what was lacking there of last season. So there is expectation. And I think for this one, there is pressure for them to come back and win game 3 down in Atlanta, just because, look, there was a lot of conversation in our post game afterwards, like, oh, well, it's still a series, guys. It's still a series, Alex, because I was heated, man. I went on a rant for like 5-6 minutes, just like heated after how the Knicks just blew that game. And it's not that this is a series. The Knicks should be looking further. That's the goal. It's to look further. This
Mm.
is just part of their journey, and that's how I'm looking at it as. And I hope that they are focused on this series first, but there's a bigger picture in mind. So look, they lost one. I'm looking for them to go back down into Atlanta and hopefully win game 3, and we'll see what happens tomorrow when it comes to that. But moving forward, man, that's it. You gotta be like Bill Belichick in these situations. On to the next one, man. On to the next game.
Look
What
straight
was it?
ahead.
Was it? I hate knowing this since I live out here and I'm a Jets fan, but it was on to Cincinnati. We're just on to game 3 at
Yep.
this point.
Yep, man. Hey, and I know what y'all just arrived today. Yeah, y'all just arrived today in Atlanta. So um I know we'll see what the crowd ratio is looking like tomorrow. I know a lot of Hawks fans have said they're going to the games, but I'm gonna be curious to see what the ratio is looking like at the home game tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it goes tomorrow, man. I'm curious to see the ratio. There's a lot of New Yorkers that moved down to Atlanta.
Yep.
I was just telling you, my mother moved down there, so there's a lot of people who are, migrating, from the Northeast and going down to Atlanta, going down to Atlanta, Georgia in general, going down to Florida. So there's a lot of travel, and I'm curious. We usually joke here saying that's MSG South. We got a lot of MSG South, whether that be Orlando, Miami.
Mhm.
You talk about Charlotte, you talk about Atlanta. So we'll see what the crowd ratio is getting there tomorrow. But keeping the show moving, man, like outside of like game 2 and just like how it went, you know, are you concerned? I'm gonna move this direction. Like,
Okay.
are you concerned with how Jalen Johnson and Nickeil Alexander Walker have been playing from like a Hawks perspective? Because I feel like not that I know the Knicks have been doing a good job holding them. They both had really impactful fourth quarters, in game 2. But as like you're watching this game, because you mentioned that the Hawks haven't played their best, the Knicks haven't played their best either.
Mhm.
I can be honest about that. Do you feel concerned with how the Hawks have been playing without Nickeil Alexander Walker and Jalen Johnson and their performances the last 2 games?
So where I kind of stand on this is, as of right now, not yet. And the reason why is just because I understood the situation going to games 1 and 2, first time in their roles, going on the road, hostile environment at MSG. And, you know, you guys have really terrific defenders who can pretty much match up with Jalen, with Nikhil, and that's shown in this series so far. But for me, I need to see how they play at home before making, okay, I'm concerned. Last time we've seen Nikhil against you guys at home, he played well. Jalen last time at home played well. Can they keep it up in this setting, in the playoff setting, with more physicality and et cetera? If the answer is no, then yeah, I'll be concerned. But as of right now, I'm not concerned yet. Obviously, you just want to kind of see how they kind of adapt now coming out of those 2 games. Obviously, like you mentioned, Jalen made some plays in the second half of the last game. Nikhil obviously had a big defensive play on Brunson late in that game. So still being able to make some key plays in key situations. But now can they put it together? Because I think that this next 2 games, like you said, is huge for you guys, but it's huge for us. Like, we're going to want to get an upset here. we're going to have to protect home court, and those two have to play better throughout the game for us to be able to actually do that.
Yeah, I asked the question because look, CJ's been phenomenal these last two games, and your boy Jonathan Kuminga had a very big and
X factor.
impactful game too. You said that was your X factor, and look, you did the X factoring in game two for sure. I ask you these questions because like Kuminga, he's coming off the bench.
Mm.
Bench players can go up and down. Like you'll get that 19 from him one night, or that you'll get what he did in game one, which is, nothing essentially, right?
Mm.
So like it just oscillates. CJ's been phenomenal for these past two games. Curious to see how he continues, if he's able to continue his scoring prowess. Like CJ's always been good, even from his days out in Portland. He's kind of just been like a castaway in New Orleans, and even for beginning of the season in Washington, just because both those teams have just been in purgatory. You haven't been really getting good basketball out of those teams. So feels like he's now getting a lot of life back just because he's part of a team that has made the playoffs. But I ask those questions because do you see CJ continuing this momentum? Can you believe that you'll continue get the same consistency out of Kuminga? Because reality is that Jalen Johnson is the star of the team. Alexander Walker, he is the most improved player, and you want to see him come through. So like that's why I ask these questions.
So when it comes to CJ, it's interesting because CJ's playoff history has been a little up and down. He's had some big games, but he's also had some games where it's like, all right, we need a little more from CJ. And so it was interesting to see how he would do at this point. He's 34, and he has been one of our most consistent players, and that's very important. He's one of the guys I think who has the most playoff experience on the team, and he's gone out, and he even said it after the first game. He was like, yeah, I mean, young team, hostile environment, I got to set the table. I got to get everybody calmed down. I got to get everybody right. And he's done a great job of that. I think, CJ for us, I think he averaged 18 a game for us this season, but he had some games where it's like, all right, wasn't the greatest. Like when we played you guys in the regular season, it wasn't the greatest that game. It was okay. But the last two games, like I said, he's really stepped up. Obviously, I know I've seen some of the things about, is he the new villain of New York? And he's just kind of like, listen, gracious. I got a wife and kids, man. I ain't interested.
I don't even consider. I think we're like, I don't even consider him. I don't even consider him a villain. Man, this is the first time this season. First of all, first season he's ever been in the East. Second of all, first time we've ever competed against him in a playoff. All right, like when I think of villains, like I think of somebody who like really wants to like really harness that energy. Like Trey did a really good job at like personifying a villain. You know what I mean? Reggie Miller personified what a villain. Michael Jordan personified what a villain was. Tyrese Halliburton even with the choke symbol, and just like he's personifying what a villain is to Madison Square Garden. I just don't see CJ like you need like a history there, and like there's just not enough history between the Hawks and the Knicks in general, right? Because it was really just Trey. It wasn't like the Atlanta Hawks. It was like Knicks fans had a thing against the Hawks because of Trey Young. I just feel like it's kind of forced that we're trying to make CJ a villain. That's kind of like earned over time, not just he's had two really good games. Is he a villain now? And he was clutch. And not even that, like, look, he missed 2 free throws, man. If Mikal goes on the other side and knocks that thing down, we're not having this conversation.
Yeah, and then listen, I mean, obviously I also heard Knicks fans, they were barking at CJ, but it's part of it. It's just trash talk, playoffs, that happens, man. So obviously, I think in game 3 he can maintain it. I think you guys are going to attack him differently though. So I'm curious to see how he kind of handles that. I know Jalen said after game 2, he was like, I need to make him more on his heels. So that makes me feel like Jalen might be trying to hunt CJ in the next game potentially to try to see if he can get him off his game. Kind of like how CJ hunted him at the last down the stretch. And in terms of because you asked about seeing Kuminga. Kuminga's interesting because the reason why I said he was an X factor was, again, it kind of showed in that game. It's just that brother came out there and just said, listen, I'm going to go into the Knicks chest and we going to see what happens. I mean, he played very physical that game, but that's a type of game he can play because he did it in Golden State when he was able to play. So, and it'll be interesting to see if Quinn goes back with him in the closing lineup, because I know Dyson has not been that effective offensively in the series so far, but Kuminga is a different type of player where even though he's not a threat from range, you still have to worry about him and his athleticism and what he can do in that regard, especially how he was guarding Cat late in that game and kind of took him out of the game. So I'll be curious to see how Kuminga kind of bounced back, but I think Kuminga can maintain it. He's kind of a player who I said in my last episode where I was kind of like, he's kind of like a running back. He has to play a lot, like get carries, and then he gets stronger as the game goes on. I think when he plays very choppy and he gets like sparing minutes, it's like it's hard for him to get into a rhythm. He's a big rhythm guy. So I think that's something that it'll be interesting if they play him a lot like they did and if they close with him, because I think they feel like matchup wise, he can switch, guard multiple guys. But like I said, he did a good job on Cat. And, we talked about this last time we were on here. Teams like guard and Cat with wings. So, and Kuminga kind of fits that description. So I think they both can have good games in Atlanta. It's just a matter of, okay, how do the Knicks attack them, making those adjustments from game two?
Absolutely, man. It's all about making the adjustments and seeing how they attack. Salute to Knicks Jason. Thank you all for tuning for another Game of the Week preview. A game preview, that is. We're previewing Game 3. With me on the other side is my guy, Bryce Lewis. He covers the Atlanta Hawks for Believe in Hawks, part of the Believe Network podcast network. So make sure to go check him out. Hit that thumbs up button for your boy. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And let's shout out to one of our sponsors today, Shopify. People, let me tell you something about Shopify. If you ever have one of those moments where you're about to start something new and you're just kind of on edge, you have no idea, is this the right move that I'm making? Should I publish this right now? What direction should I go? Look, it's not easy. That's where Shopify comes in and makes you helps you out. You don't want to be nervous when you're starting anything new, whether it's a podcast, a business. Shopify is there to help you out. We've been there at KFTV, and so we really like what Shopify has to offer. And look, the reality is starting anything new is just difficult, man. It feels overwhelming very fast. And that's why having the right tools matter. And that's where Shopify comes in. So Shopify powers millions of businesses worldwide and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. They make it super easy to get started with customizable templates so your store actually looks legit from day one. And what I like most is the efficiency through Shopify, okay? Its built-in AI tools helps you write product descriptions, cleans up your site, even improve your product images so you're not stuck doing everything manually. Then on top of that, they can help you market your business too. Email campaigns, social media, all in one spot. So you actually can research customers instead of just hoping you find them or hoping they find you. And if you ever hit a wall, they got 24/7 support. So trust me, they're a lifesaver. So those what if moments, they can go away, man, when you use Shopify. Shopify makes it a whole lot easier to push through anything that comes your way. So what you should do is sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/KFTV. That's shopify.com/KFTV. Shout out to Shopify. All right, let's get back into this. Yeah, Bryce, I like the conversation that you brought about like CJ, how he's feeling comfortable, the vet experience, Kuminga, and like I do agree with your point on Brunson attacking CJ and trying to get him in some actions. Like he's not necessarily your best defender either, right? Like everybody else is. That's where the strength of Atlanta is. And as we saw in the last game, and I made it a point to point out, like I blamed Mike Brown and Jalen Brunson for last game's loss because there were some rotations that Mike Brown threw out there that he hasn't done really for most of the season. Really started dabbling in it towards the end of the season and really in the postseason. And then Brunson, and this is where I'm really going to make my point, talking about like why he should attack CJ, is that Brunson, it felt like watching that game, Brunson took everything as a disrespect with Alexander Walker, Jalen Johnson, anybody that was guarding him, and you just can't do that in these series, man. Like you gotta play a little more efficiently. Cat had 14 points in the third quarter, and then we completely go away from him in the fourth quarter. And so I'm looking at Brunson in this one to actually do what you said, is to hunt CJ and just try to get some easier points, because why should you have to work 3 times as hard just to get past Dyson Daniels? I mean, that's what they did in game 1, where they were trying to get setting up multiple screens to have him switch onto somebody else, so that way Brunson got the right matchup. And they just went, they did it at parts in game 2, but it felt like they just went away from that entire strategy for the most part, which is why you see Alexander Walker strip Jalen Brunson in the fourth quarter, leading to a Jalen Johnson dunk. And it's just stuff like that where Brunson's got to make it easier on himself, and the coach has got to be in there too to make it easier for everybody around him. So I'm looking for that a little bit of adjustment right there. And I'm even curious to see in this one if Mike Brown decides to switch up the defensive schematics here, where he's had Karl Anthony Towns guard Dyson Daniels just because Daniels is a good rebounding guard. You have Towns battling him, but maybe you switch it up and try to see, do you put Onyeka Okongwu, do you put Cat on Okongwu, just go center for center, put Brunson on Daniels, and then you say, hey, maybe Brunson, you just got to fight, battle the boards, put your effort there, and we just got to go straight up wings versus wings and see what happens there, because Bridges has been doing a good job on Alexander Walker. I think Hart's been doing a good job on Jalen Johnson, and then you can use even OG if you want to switch OG on Johnson and put Hart on CJ. I feel like he might try that out, and that might be a different wrinkle to show, hey, let's just show something different, because the Hawks might be prepared for what we've been doing the last 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I kind of said in the last time we talked about how this is kind of like a chess match, and you've kind of already seen it through the first 2 games of how the adjustments both teams have made in terms of defending each other. Because it would be interesting if you guys moved Cat to Okongwu and then move Brunson to Dyson, because technically he's still our least effective offensive player. So you would usually want your worst defender on the least effective offensive player. But the thing I will say for CJ and his defense is that one thing about CJ is one thing everybody always says when they describe his defense is that he is an adult on defense. He will try. He will contest as best as he can. He's not, because sometimes I feel like this kind of happens sometimes with Trey, where it's like when he would be defending someone he shouldn't be defending, he's kind of like looking for someone to come get him and like so he can get off of him. And it's like, brother, you just got to D up till the switch comes. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's what CJ does. He'll definitely like kind of like, all right, I'll defend until it's time. So I think, I guess one question I have for you though, when we're talking about the defense, and obviously Brunson, there's that big question of is he going to be someone y'all can have on the floor late defensively? Do you see Mike Brown potentially in this game if CJ or Nikhil or whoever starts maybe making a couple of buckets late in the game on Brunson? Maybe they try to do a lot more offense defense in the game, or do you feel like it's like you got to ride and die with the captain?
You got to ride and die with the captain. There's no way you're pulling him off the floor. Reason being is that he's our best playmaker and our best initiator. We don't have really, like, we have guys that can do it in sparing moments. I mean, you saw it, Bryce, in the second quarter. I mean, they took Cat and Brunson off the floor. Next thing you see Shamit, Deuce, Clarkson, who would be our effectively our second best isolation scorer. I mean, he was parked in the corner, and God knows why, man, shooting 33% from downtown. Not really that anymore. He's a guy that can really get downhill and create and be a contortionist and just find guys that like just crazy, like you can find these crazy passing angles. You're like, how'd you even get that? And Mike Brown didn't do that. If they went that direction, and you said, I would like to see them try that if they're going to go out there with that lineup again. I really don't want to see that lineup again, personally. I feel like Cat or Brunson should really be out there. But no, you got to ride or die with the captain. I think the bigger issue is that if you're going in that direction with Brunson and Cat sharing the floor, then you got to maximize that offense with both them out on the floor. Issue is that we just let Brunson just go hero ball, and that's not going to be effective, because then what you did is like, all right, we'll either put Cat or Brunson in the switch, and then we're going to take either one of them to task, and that's what happened. If they don't want to use Cat, then the option needs to be Mitchell Robinson being out there as your 5, because then at least you deter guys like Johnson, like CJ from getting downhill, because the verticality, Mitchell Robinson's athleticism, his lateral quickness, he can stop guys in the pick and roll. So they need to ride or die with the captain. And it's either, look, we're going to go all in on offense while Cat is out there, or if we're going to really just push the Brunson button, then we got to have Mitch out there for defensive purposes. That's the way that's got to be.
I do want to touch on Mitch since you brought him up, because it's going to be interesting if y'all do that, because there were a couple plays, this has happened through the first 2 games, where I feel like the Hawks are now, when Mitch is on the floor, going to try to attack whoever he's on, in terms of like if he's guarding Kongu, if he's guarding Kuminga, whoever, if that's the situation. Because I know they've used him sometimes and kind of their guy is like a role guy. And then sometimes, because Mitchell, obviously he's a shot blocker, but he's a big 7-footer, lumping 7-footer. So he's not the most fastest, nimble guy on the floor. And so I feel like I wouldn't be surprised they try to use more pick and rolls to try to get him involved in that and just see if they can get some good looks at the basket where it's like, all right, we have a more athletic, quicker player than Robinson and see if we can, get him out of position. Because I remember there was that one play, I think Gabe Vincent kind of helped kind of muck up some traffic, and I think Okongwu got a dunk in the last game on that, and I feel like that's something they may try to do more of, just to try to all right, yeah, if he's steadying in the paint, we don't have those driving lanes. We know what he can do around the rim, but if we can get him out in space, maybe that's where we can take advantage.
Maybe I would say that more so like when you see something like that from Gabe Vincent, it's because there's a lack of it comes down to a lack of communication, which has kind of been like the Knicks' Achilles heel. Like Mitch is the best communicator that we have on this team. Like he is a legit defensive anchor in that respect. But even if you're communicating and you're communicating to your players, it's like even at your work, like you communicate, you can send all those emails that you want to your colleague, man, but they gotta go out there and execute, right? And
Yep.
so I feel like in that instance, it's more so the other guys are not executing to their best defensive ability. I trust Mitch in any of those situations. His recovery speed, I mean, you can go back and just find what he did to the Boston Celtics last year, covering five players at once and still getting a block on Jaylen Brown. Like, he has the quickness, he has the speed to do that. But like, if you just set, like, for anybody, man, if you get them at like the right, if you're quick enough to the right angle, you could set anybody off. And I feel like if there's a lack of communication too, that'll certainly set those guys off. But keeping this thing going, man, like, what do you expect Quinn Snyder to do in this one? Because I feel like, and the Knicks did that obviously, like where Knicks won game one, not a lot of adjustments. Like they essentially tried out the same thing. Like, hey, this worked. Let's do this. Maybe we make fringe adjustments here or there, but nothing too crazy. Now that the Hawks won one, do you expect Quinn to like make any adjustments? Like, hey, does Corey Kispert get even more minutes because he made an appearance, man, where he was parked on the bench? What do you see Snyder doing in this one, or is he keeping everything the same?
I think he will primarily keep everything the same for the most part. I think the biggest thing, like I said, is just the rotations of how long do people play. Obviously, you mentioned Kisper. He's a shooter, so for spacing reasons, I think that's why they kind of want him on the floor. He's more under control player than Ricochet, which is why he's getting those minutes over him. And also, I think he smartly used him when Brunson wasn't on the floor because obviously, if that's the case, Brunson would probably just go attack Kisper. But like I said, I think it's just like I said about the rotation of minutes because, like I said, it's going to be that Dyson Kaminga. How does he kind of go about that? And then how does he match them up with whoever you guys have on the floor at that time, and then see if he can make you guys maybe make an adjustment to us. Like I said, depending on how you guys defend CJ or go at CJ coming out the game, I could see Quinn making adjustments in game from that. Just saying, okay, maybe we can open up Nickeil Alexander-Walker now because they're maybe making more of a focus or an effort to get the ball out of CJ's hands potentially, and see if that can open someone up. Because like I said, if you assign Brunson to someone else, maybe the Hawks try to say, okay, let's get him into action. Let's see if we can, take advantage of the fact they're trying to take him off CJ. Now, obviously, CJ says, like, listen, I've played against a lot of defenders. I can make something happen. And when he gets hot, then you can put OG and those guys on him, but it's like he's hot now. But I think early in the game where you're trying to fill out the game, I think that's where I always feel like game three just gives me more of a feeling out process. Like Knicks probably have their new strategy. Let's see how it goes. Hawks are going to kind of stick to some things they did and try to build off of some stuff and then kind of say, okay, how is both teams playing it? How are both teams adjusting to it? And then, all right, what do we need to change as the game goes on? Because, like, I mean, you saw like in the fourth quarter last game, we threw a bunch of different defensive coverages at Brunson late while he was, going to hero ball. So, and that kind of helped. So I think it's one of those games where I think just a lot of adjustments will be made in game, but going into the game, I think both teams are going to kind of, I mean, obviously you guys are going to have a new, strategy, but I think for the Hawks perspective, we're going to kind of trot out there the same starting five, kind of, have Dyson on Cat probably starting off like we did last game, and then just kind of see outside some small adjustments, what that looks like at home.
Gotcha. And like thinking from like a Knicks perspective and what they're gonna do, like obviously we talked about, hey, one of them would be Brunson attacking CJ, making sure you get CJ on Brunson so that way he can get an easier look going down, or even on Yuka Okongwu, try to like see like, do I get a big man, use my shiftiness and try to get to the cup that way, or create separation and just take his mid range and because he can knock down from there. I think and obviously we talked about the defensive. Do you put Brunson on Daniels? Do you put Cat on Okongwu and then go straight up wing for wing? Is that something that we see tomorrow? I'm interested in that. Two other things I would say that I would want to see from the Knicks tomorrow is one, that second unit can't have the entire, you can't clear the bench and have your two top scorers parked there, meaning Brunson and Cat. Someone's got to be with that second unit. For most of the season, it was always Cat, usually Bridges two out there with the second unit. And the difficulty was like, okay, can we get Cat activated? Then towards the end of the season, he started to get activated. And now it's like, all right, so now we're just parking him on the bench. We need to have we need to have our second best scoring option out there with this second unit just to help and just punish. And so I think that's something that we may see tomorrow. Although Mike Brown said he wasn't going to be completely off of not trying that second unit. I hope that's some gamesmanship, because man, that is, as everyone's been saying on Twitter, can I file this as abuse? Because we don't want to see that. Because we don't need to see none of that no more. So that's one thing I'm thinking I'm wanting to see, if we're going to see the Brunson or Cat. Hopefully it's going back to the Cat, maybe with Macau out there, because good Lord, man, that was a tough watch. That's one, seeing if he staggers the second unit with the starters. And then the other thing I'm looking for is, are we going to go Cat? Are we going to get the overcorrection now? Because Cat has had moments in games 1 and 2, but we really haven't fully featured him. And that's been, we talked about it when we did the first preview. I said the key matchup is Towns versus Okongwu, and we haven't really gotten the full Cat experience yet. So I'm wondering if this is an overcorrection where Brunson takes a little bit more, not a full backseat, but just reins himself in and where he attacks throughout this game, but really hyper focuses on getting Karl-Anthony Towns. And I'm not saying just like you feed him and be like, all right, man, we'll worry about everybody else later. But like, do we get like do we get good shot attempts from Towns? Do we get a good volume from him? Like typically it's around like 12 attempts. Do we get like the 15, maybe even closer to 20, and see, hey, can you really dominate in this matchup? So I'm curious to see if we go with that one. Is there anything else that you're seeing from a Hawks perspective that Snyder would go with in this for an adjustment?
No, not particularly. I think it was also interesting when we talk about Brunson attacking CJ, and I was thinking about this, was that I wonder if that could, in a way, trap Brunson back into that ISO ball, because you have a weaker defender on you, and you now have Dyson Nikhil on, if they have Dyson on Cat, well, obviously we'll see if they want to post him up, but then Nikhil's guarding, OG or Mikal, and see if like, oh, well, their two best defenders on our other guys and our best offensive players on their worst defender. And Jalen's like, all right, well, let me just keep attacking. Obviously, if he's making it, then it's like, it can't be mad at it. But if he misses some and the rhythm of the offense seems a little, not, as smoothed out, I wonder, how you guys kind of will handle that, because you don't want it to turn into like what it turned to in the fourth quarter, unless, again, he's just hot.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens tomorrow, man. I'm curious to see how we guard CJ and how that, because like he's been the instrumental one in just really just like, mobilizing the troops. And at some point you got to stop the head of the snake. I know you can't. CJ is a phenomenal player. Like I said, it's just like, it's been a long time since we've got to see him perform at this type of level, just because when you're in New Orleans, where you have no idea if Zion's playing or he's out there doing some other things, and then you go to the purgatory or you go down to the purgatory world that is the Washington Wizards, you don't really get to shine, man, and show what you can do. So he's got, it's like a cat, man. He's using his second life at this point to show the NBA world what he's capable of. So very curious about that. And you know what people should be curious about, Bryce? People should be curious about Fabletics. And let me tell you why people should be curious about Fabletics. It's tough enough as it is finding like crisp, clean gym clothes that make you feel good and strong and just like confident when you go to the gym. That's why I like Fabletics. And that's why you got to sign up as a VIP, because when I signed up, I got 80% off of everything. And I mean everything. I thought it was too good to be true. And what really surprised me was the quality of the stuff. The quality was just top tier, man. And look, as you guys know, I like to play basketball on the regular. I need to have clothing that's light, flexible. So I got the line shorts. I got the t-shirt. It feels great when I'm out there running. I love him to death, man. And Fabletics has come through in that regard. So I recommend everybody sign up for Fabletics. And this is what you just got to do, okay? You go to Fabletics, sign up as a VIP. You'll get 80% off of everything when you sign up as a VIP. All you need to do is just go to fabletics.com/KFTV, take the style quiz, and be sure you select KFTV when prompted. That's fabletics.com/KFTV. All right? Okay. Let's get this thing wrapped up. Put a bow on this show, man. Just a couple more questions and we'll get out of here.
Sure.
So, is there anything that Quinn Snyder is like stressing about in this one? Because I know what Mike Brown's stressing about. He is stressing about just getting this win, one, and then two, how do I get my guys involved and not like have my starters collapse in the fourth quarter, and how do I keep the offense flowing when some of my top guys are on the bench?
I mean, from everything I've kind of heard through interviews and things like that, there's nothing that stands out really. I mean, I think the biggest thing is I'm sure he's just kind of serious. Okay, how do we play in front of our crowd, and how does that help us? Because you would assume that would help us. And then again, at the end of the day, playing with pace. Can we play with more pace than we have in the first two games? I think when we made that first initial run where we took the lead very briefly in the second quarter of the last game, it was turnovers, transition, getting out into the open floor. I think we won the transition battle and second chance points battle, I think, last game as well, which y'all won the first game. So could be a major factor in the series. So honestly, I don't think there's anything Quinn's is just like, oh my God, I'm scared of. I think it's just, I mean, if anything, you're probably like, oh God, I hope we don't lose this game. And now it's like we're going into game four. Like, all right, if we're gonna stay in this series and not go into an elimination game, we gotta win game four. But I think just like I said, seeing how the guys respond, seeing how Jalen bounces back, see if he can put a full game together, if Nikhil can get back on track, and if the president can keep it going. So I think that's what I think Quinn's probably looking at, and just making sure everybody's ready to go.
Okay. Like I said, for Mike Brown, it's getting his guys going, trying to limit Brunson from taking himself out of the game, getting Cat involved, and fixing that second unit, man. Because good Lord, I mean, I know people are going to look at the collapse in the fourth quarter, but the Knicks were really rolling after that first quarter, and then when you start that second quarter with a unit that just, I mean, Shamit and Deuce were just struggling to get by anybody with Dyson, Nikhil, like good Lord, man. It was Alcatraz for those guys. And there's no way do I want to see Landry Shamit trying to be a point guard, man. Never has, never will be. Good God. I was about to take a fork to my eyes from what I was watching. So he's got to be figuring that stuff out. So that's what I'm confident Mike Brown's working on. So let's finish off with this, man. The Hawks finish the sentence. The Hawks win game 3 if
Hawks win game 3 if they continue to play in transition and are still able to make key defensive stops, mainly in the last 4 to 5 minutes of the game. I believe this game is going to be close once again. So it's going to come down to attention to detail and just making those key plays. Knicks made those plays in game 1. Hawks were able to make them in game 2. This is not a game that I think either team's going to be comfortable, and now it's just like who's going to blow the lead. I think it's just who makes those plays late. And so obviously the Hawks want to get in transition, increase the pace if they can, create pressure on the Knicks defense. And then, like I said, those plays in the fourth quarter, not just offensively, but defensively, how do you address? I don't expect the Knicks to do what they did with ISO ball Brunson. So when they do, maybe if they do include Cat, if they do include other guys, how do you respond to that? How do you, match up with them in those moments, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. The Hawks are able to make key defensive stops and be able to play in pace. I think we should be able to get the win in game 3.
Okay. That's for the Hawks. For the Knicks win game 3 if they share the basketball. Sharing is caring. Get Karl-Anthony Towns going early. Leave him with that second unit so that way he can dominate the reserves. And then on top of that, closing with, I think when it comes down to the last 5 minutes, that's fine when you get to iso ball. You want the basketball in your best player's hands. That it's just you don't want to take too much out of that. But what I do want to see is better ball movement, guys being more involved, because that's when the Knicks are at their best, is when guys are working off ball, cutting to the basket, seeing that from Hart, Bridges, OG. These guys are just excellent, just moving off ball and finding the open lanes. Towns utilizing him as a hub because he can work the high post. He can work from top of the key. We saw him even with the Brunson cat pick and roll. He was finding Brunson, like giving him good leads to get to the basket. And so I want to see more of that offensive sharing, because if it's just one guy, if it's like Brunson just putting up 25 to 30 shots, this is not a team that he should be doing that. 2 years ago against Philadelphia, when you didn't have Randall, OG then goes down in the series. Like, we're talking about Jalen Brunson and the Band of Merry Men. That's a different story. This team was created so that way he didn't have to expend himself that hard to continue to work. He is the best player on this team, but you don't want to have to see him just try to do everything. So sharing is caring, number one, because I think the defense has been actually fine. Like, it's not like these teams have been just like going off like 120, 130 point games. These have been very close games. So I think the defense is there. It's just sharing that rock and making sure the offense is there just to keep everybody going. But that's what I think the Knicks need to do. Bryce, I appreciate you as always, my man, coming on the show and helping me with these previews. Please let the people know where they can find you. If you got anything up and coming we should be on the lookout for.
Yes, sir. I always appreciate you guys letting me come on. Host of Believe in Hawks, BLEAV. If you want to check that out, I will be doing a Game 3 post-game recap, obviously, win or loss. Just talking about what happened in that game. So just covering the playoff series throughout. Working to see we get some guests on over the next week or two just for extra analysis on the series as well. And also, if there's any NFL fans in here, I got some NFL content coming up too. So, if y'all get with the draft tomorrow. So definitely, if y'all want to check out the channel, Bryce_2K, definitely appreciate you guys' support. And obviously, I appreciate you letting me come on and talk hoops with you again.
Of course, man. Of course, my man. Always a great time talking basketball with you. So make sure to go check out Bryce. He does a phenomenal job covering the Hawks. It's interesting, man. Look, we got Hawks fans in here in the post-game live. I know Knicks fans will go over to your show as well and start getting into the comment section and the live chat and doing the same thing. So make sure to go follow, man. It's always fun when we see, look, it's fun. Hey, it's sports, man. It's supposed to be banter. It's supposed to be bravado, okay? It's supposed to be, ish talking to one another. That's how it's supposed to be. Respectful, but hey, it's supposed to be fun, okay? That's what it's supposed to be. That's what sports is all about. But appreciate everybody for tuning in yet again for another game preview. Appreciate all you coming through. Knicks fans, and I know there's some Hawks fans out there, man. I know there's some Hawks fans. Although I see some Detroit fans in here too, saying go Pistons. I don't know what's going on, man, but appreciate you all for coming through as well. Make sure that thumbs up button for your boys. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Remember, people, we got watch parties on top of watch parties on top of watch parties. For Game 3 and Game 4 in New York, we'll be at Printers Alley, okay? It's at 215 West 40th Street off of 8th Ave, so make sure to go head over there for pre-gaming and getting ready for the Knicks taking on the Atlanta Hawks for Game 3. Doors will open at 5:30, so make sure to get there at 5:30 sharp. You can get your tickets at shop.KnicksFanTV.com, okay? And make sure to go over there, get your tickets, go secure them, so that way you can go get there and go join the Orange and Blue faithful rooting out for the Knicks. And we'll also be there for Game 4 in New York. Now, if you are going down to Atlanta, man, and we know that, hey, Thursday is pretty tough. That's why we got it on Saturday, people. That's why we got it on Saturday. If you're going down to the ATL on Saturday, we'll be at Hudson Grill, 120 Marietta Street Northwest, all right? Make sure to get down there. Doors will open at 2:30. Go join the Orange and Blue faithful in the Peachtree State, so that way you can go root on for the New York Knicks as they take on the Atlanta Hawks down there as well for Game 4. On top of that, remember to support our sponsors, okay? Make sure to go support Shopify. If you are starting a business, podcast, whatever it may be, go to shopify.com/KFTV. And if you want to get some crisp new athletic gear, go to Fabletics. Join as a VIP. Get 80% off of everything. Just go to fabletics.com/KFTV. Make sure to select KFTV when prompted to, and just go be a VIP and get 80% off all that gear, okay? On top of that, we do have playoff merch, so go back to shop.KnicksFanTV.com and go get your playoff merch there as well. Go get swagged out for this postseason run. Lastly, make sure to sign up for that newsletter. It's free. It goes straight to your inbox. We got great writers over there. That's how you also know about the watch parties. That's how you know about all the sponsors. That's how you know what's going on with the channel. It's so great. It's free to do for the newsletter, and you're supporting us in another way. So make sure to go do that. Look, Omar just dropped another phenomenal article talking about whether CJ is an actual villain and going into the historical aspect of who villains are to MSG. So make sure to go check that out, man. We got great content over there as well. Support the KFTV product. We appreciate you all for tuning in. Once again, salute to all the Knicks Nation. Shout out to all the franchise channel members in here. John Talento, I see you. Chuck D, throw a hashtag PE in the chat. Appreciate you as well. We got D Cannon in here too. What else we got in here? Who else we got in here? We got Don Q. Shout out to you. What else we got in here with us? We got P McG. Appreciate you for coming through. Hey, Chuck threw the super chat in here. Let's read the super chat real quick before we get out of here. Salute to you, Chuck. Appreciate you as always. With the $5 super chat, Chuck D says, if I can get this thing, why is my screen moving all over the place? Stop. All right. Says, wish us luck and powerful best Alex. Stadium report from me, State Farm tomorrow. Boston, Detroit, Nuggets, and Rockets all eating crow too. Let's family show go. Salute, Chuck. Hey, Chuck's going to be down there in the ATL. Let's go, man. Shout out to Chuck for going down there, being one of the road warriors. Looking forward to that stadium report tomorrow, my man. Looking forward to that stadium report. All right, people. Appreciate you all for tapping in for another game preview. We'll be on here tomorrow, as always, for post game. So make sure to stay locked in. We out.